Okay, so decided to make another tutorial. So I didn't show you guys everything about the WireTool. Some of the most useful parts of the WireTool, and also help you understand deformers better, are if I have this curve. Now it turns out this is just a duplicate curve of the original that I made, and it's using the combination of two curves to decide what this offset in the mesh should be, what the deformation of the mesh should be. So if I go to Window, Hypergraph Hierarchy, here's my two curves, right? I got my plane, got curve 1 that you can see, then I've got curve 1 base wire. So this will be interesting. If I hit Shift H to unhide it, you can see that it's at the location that the previous wire was before I moved it. Okay, so if I select this curve and re-sculpt it to match the curve that I moved, what's going to happen is there won't be any deformation on this mesh, because there wouldn't be any difference between the two wires, the two curves. And so I'll spare you watching me try to do that exactly, but you can see that if I just move it up, this area of the mesh becomes less deformed. And if I were able to line it up exactly, then it would go away entirely. So there we are. So there's no deformation on this mesh now. So you can use the combination of these two different wires to create a deformation. It turns out that all deformations in Maya work the same way. So how are we going to use that towards our ball? Well, let me close this down. Or how might we use it on our ball, I should say. So I'm going to go to frame 0, and I'm going to set my ball back to defaults. And I'm going to make the ball live for a second so I can draw a curve on it. And then I'm going to go to my Create CV Curve tool, and I think I just want the second degree curve, and I'm going to make a curve that goes about halfway around the ball. Okay, so I press enter, and then I can go to modify. Let's see if I remember how to make it not live anymore. Yeah, make not live. So if I deselect everything, then if you go to modify, you have the make not live option in your menu. That's kind of confusing. Where normally if you have an object selected that isn't live already, then it gives you the option to make it live. So you can have multiple live objects at the same time. All that really does is it allows you to draw or manipulate objects directly on the surface of another object. That means the live surface of the object. Okay, so go to my hypergraph. My curve. It's on the inside of the ball, so it looks like I need to rearrange this. You go to the top view, switch into component mode. I'm going to rearrange this so it's actually on the surface of the ball. Now, these curves are used quite frequently in rigging of faces. It gets a really nice deformation on a face with wires. Okay, so I've got my curve now so that it outlines my ball, or almost. You could add more CVs to your curve if you want it to match more precisely. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my perspective view. Kind of scale it in, I think. Okay, so we'll use that. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Create Deformer, WireTool. I select the shape I want to be deformed. That's my ball. Press Enter, and then I need to select select Wire Curves down here at the bottom. It tells you, and press Enter. So select the curve and press Enter. Okay. So now you can see in my hypergraph it created a second curve. One's the base one, so it knows the difference between the two, and then it can deform the ball appropriately. Okay, so I'm going to go switch to my Translate tool, and I'm displacing my ball. Obviously that is way too much, so I need to go to my Wire tool and then change this drop-off distance. Okay, so that's kind of creasing the ball. It doesn't look very good, I'll admit. So what we can do, I'll move that curve back to its default position, and we can sculpt this curve after the fact. Change this to 0.1, the drop-off distance to 0.1, and I'm going to go ahead and show both these curves at the same time. Select them both, press F8 to go into component mode. I'm going to grab didn't mean to do that. I'm going to grab all their CVs. Let's see what I can do about this. Because I'm deforming them both at the same time, it's not going to affect the mesh at all. So I'm debating whether or not just to make it a straight line. Maybe that'll give me a better effect. Okay. Back to object mode. I'll move it outside the ball. Maybe I can cut the ball a little easier this way. Now I just select the curve that's going to shape the ball. So I didn't have that base curve close enough, and I'm cutting into the ball. Turn that back on so you can see it better. So my resolution on my ball is probably not really high enough to deal with this. Because in order to make it look like it's being cut, it just looks ugly. So, I could try smoothing my ball, like when I render or something like that, but I think really this is just not going to work for a ball. So now you have an idea of what a wire deformer is and how it works. And we can use that maybe later on for